That's insane. He's like a fucking alligator.
It's like the French legend Tarare or whatever. I don't know how to pronounce French words.
What
Have you ever heard of that shit?
No. What's that?
I think it was like this first World War I soldier, and I don't remember what his actual name was, but they named him Tarare, which is like some French word for like hungry, I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on that. That's probably a complete lie. Mm-hmm. But fucking, he was literally just a dude that had this disease where he just could not stop eating. He was like ravenously hungry and would eat anything. Like you'd eat like...
That's probably the nigga that came up with eating snails. Someone was like, dude.
He invented escargot. No, you fucking...
Oh, I thought you actually had me going for a second. Hold up, I gotta go.
But he would just eat like a shit ton of trash, and then it all culminated when he ate a baby.
What? Yeah. That's a real person?
Yeah.
Okay, hold up. I gotta...
What's up, guys? Nate Hate Podcast. Actually, Nate fired Jake. Hired a new co-host named Cool Jake. So that's me. Bro scrapped up with the Masubi.
Yes, sir. Dude, so not to jump around too much, but even though that's like all I do on this podcast, fucking, we were just talking about Better Call Saul out there.
Yeah.
And for those of you that don't know, you won't know. But fucking... Sorry, I'm gonna get this out of the way now.
The girls that get it, get it. Caught that bet for Elenado.
Yes, sir.
Nice.
But basically fucking Better Call Saul is the extension universe. Not extension universe. It's the extra show that came out that's like the prequel.
I gotta take these off.
I was looking at myself in the reflection. We were talking about, again, jumping around. You were like, I'm going to wear these to casino. I was like, yeah, everybody that plays will just look at your fucking cards. Yeah. Even though you're not really playing against each other except for in like poker. But like, Better Call Saul is like the extended part of Breaking Bad. It's the prequel, and it goes into like how Saul became Saul. Because like, I don't know if you remember, but his real name was Jimmy McGill. Yeah. And like, he just went by Saul, and you're like, okay, well, he's Saul. And then it like goes, like the show starts off and he's Jimmy McGill. And like, he's kind of a piece of shit. Like, it tells us, like, at first, the first thing you see in there of Jimmy is him like scamming this dude. Nice. And like, he's acting drunk or he had his friend pretend to be drunk with a fake Rolex, like passed out in an alley. And he was like, oh yeah. Like him and this other dude were walking down after a bar. They were walking down the alley for some reason, and then he's like, oh, look at that passed out dude. He's like, he's got a Rolex on, let's take it. And like, this is Jimmy's friend, and he's like, he's got a Rolex on, let's take it. And he's like, oh, well, who gets it? And like, he was like, oh, well, I'll get it. Like the other dude was like, I'll take it. And he's like, oh, well, like, just give me like $200 or like $300, and then you can take that. And he's like, well, you really like that watch, like you can give me some money and take the watch, or you give me the watch and I'll give you some money. And he's like, no, because he's thinking it's a Rolex that's like $10,000. Yeah. And he's like, no, here, I'll give you
a couple $100, retard.
Yeah. And then walks away, and he's just, dude, it showed a little bit of him scamming, and then like explained his story, and apparently
it's fire. He could probably pull that off in Reno.
Probably. Dude, you could pull off a lot of stunts in Reno. Like, just being a homeless person and every activity that they do throughout the day. Like, fucking, he actually explained that Jimmy had fucking, whenever he was young, he used to be doing the same shit. He's a
little shyster ass kid.
He was known as Slippin' Jimmy.
Oh,
and
that's an awful nickname.
He would go places and like fall and then like threaten to sue and get money.
Nice.
And that in the Breaking Bad universe, he's like, I have bad knees, and like that's one of that he explains it to Walter. Dude, there's so much that goes into it, and I'm gonna spoil it, but like, you know what happens. Saul Goodman becomes Saul Goodman. Yeah. Fucking Gustavo Fring lives on into the next one because Gustavo's in it. Like Mike Ehrmantraut is in it. Everybody's in it. But fucking, there's a lot of lore points in there. He actually got in trouble for shitting in a dude's sunroof, and then it turned out the dude's kids were in there. Yeah, and so he defecated in public in front of children.
Oh my god. Honestly, worth.
That was his come to Jesus moment, because then his brother was like,
Do you get registered as a sex offender for shitting in front of kids or no?
I don't think that they even have the registry that much anymore. Like, well, no, my bad. It is sorry, what I was confusing that with is like, before you would have to go to your neighbors and tell them like, hey, my name is, I'm not going to say Nathan here because that feels weird. My name is something random, like Brandon Oram. Something completely made up. No, not really. It's Greg Offit. And
Regis Philbin.
Yeah, my name is Regis Philbin, and I fucked children a lot back in the day. And I just have to let you know that by the court order. But now you don't have to do that because there's a sex offender registry, and you can just look it up and see who's all around you. Yeah,
but I was saying, would you get put on that, you think, for shitting?
Yeah, I would. It depends.
It's the same as pissing?
I think it depends on if the kid saw asshole or not. Because, like, there's two different ways you could shit in a sunroof. One would be to, like, stand up directly over it, like, on the roof, and, like, spread your legs and just let that bitch fall. That doesn't seem natural. For some reason, I think he, like, sat down in it and used his arms to hold him up on the other side, and then would have shit in it that way. That seems like the most organic way to me. What do you think?
I feel like if the kids were in the back seat and he was on top of the car and bomb dropped one in, they would not be able to see asshole. So
I feel like they would be confused too. No, it depends on how young. Like a 12-year-old's like, what the fuck? 12 was bad, dude. And that's 6th grade. I remember I used to be yelling cuss words across the fucking, like, I was playing Xbox and I was just excited and had my headset on. But, like, I would not know, and I'd be screaming the most racist shit ever, and I'm so shocked that neither of my parents... My mom would sometimes be like, Nathan, you need to calm down. But my dad never said anything.
He's just like... Yeah.
That's my boy. He's got that rage in him.
Oh, yeah, that Masubi ASMR was nice.
Wow. Fucking... We were also talking about one of the most impressive American feats in military history. In 1966, we were in the Cold War with Russia, and we like to just like take nukes and like fly them around places like kind of close to the Soviet Union and be like,
just like shake it like a cat toy.
I'm not. My nukes aren't in your territory. You can't get mad. And like one time, we were stupid as fuck, and our plane that was carrying those bombs, 4 hydrogen bombs to be specific, it crashed into another plane, and it went down. And all 4 hydrogen bombs are spread out in the city. And they don't just go off, like, when they hit the ground. You have to actually, like, make them go off. Yeah. And they, like, came down and they were just, like, kind of exploring. And they were like, oh, man, this is not good. They're like, hey, you should probably not be, like, playing in the water and stuff. Because I see some kids, like, playing in the lake. And they're like, huh? Why not? And then, like, hair falls off. And then the mom is like, why shouldn't they? And he's like, you probably shouldn't drink the water either. And he just, like, looks at her and she's like, Can you breathe radioactive particles and be okay? And she's like, what does that mean? He's like, yeah, you might want to leave here too. And then I don't even know what happened. There's a bunch of other ones that we would like lose. I think we found like 3 of them and didn't find the last one.
We've dropped so many nukes on accident in like the water and just all over the place.
And we're very honest with ours. Like, we've dropped a lot and we know about a lot, but the Soviet Union,
who knows what they're doing?
No one knows. And they would not have said anything. They would have just been like, oh, this landed in the middle of some, like, indigenous people that are over here. We'll see how they handle it.
Probably completely... The Siberian people are completely immune to it at this point after how many nukes got tested over there.
Dude.
They're probably all, like, super mutants.
I feel like there's, like, no life in the middle of Russia. Like, I know there is, but I bet it's like,
not a lot.
Where do you think there's more life? Like, do you think it's more densely populated in the middle of Nevada, not counting, we'll say, from Carson City to Henderson, which is a city right above Las Vegas that doesn't count as Las Vegas? That's, like, basically nothing.
Like, are you saying, do I think there's more there, or, like the actual...
Not in the whole of Russia, but I'm saying, is it more dense? Because, like, you know how spread out the cities are. And, like, how spread out the amount of...
I mean, out in, like, the majority of, like, the northeast part of Siberia, like, anything, like, going back to the Hussien knowledge, anything that's more than, like, 2 fucking regions from, like, the border with Asia or like east of the Ural Mountains, like at a certain point, there's probably maybe like 100 people per like thousands of square miles, dude. Like it's literally the only people that are out there are like indigenous people.
You know, that's where the I forgot what their name is. Fuck, but it's these people that herd reindeer, and they like
really?
they use the Amanita muscaria mushroom, and that one's like poisonous to humans just to straight up eat, and you wouldn't trip off of it anyways. But if
the reindeer eats it and shits it out.
It's actually the piss that does it. And, like, it's the same with all, like, psychedelics. Like, there's a lot of cultures where the shaman will eat, like, mushrooms and then piss, and people will drink his piss. And, like, if you've ever done, like, mushrooms or acid and you piss, look at your piss, and, like, it's not just the trip.
Fried?
It literally, it's not going to be, like, a different coloration. You can see, like, if you look into it, that it looks, like, weird. Like, there's shit in it.
Really?
Yeah. Like, it's, like... on the top of the surface, it looks like there's like a film on there that's like an oil slick. And like, I've never done it, but Joe Rogan said he did it once off of DMT, and that made him like shoot up way higher.
He drank his own DMT piss.
Yeah, but Joe Rogan is not probably, he's admitted to drinking his own piss on multiple occasions. Not for like life or death, but just cause. That's nice. White boy shit.
Yeah, white boy shit. Go white boy, go white boy, go.
Joe Rogan's the best. He became more my favorite whenever he came out with that compilation of him saying the N-word.
Yeah.
That bothered me.
That
bothered me that people let that bother them.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, dude. Yeah, he said it like 80-something times. But like...
it was never in a shitty way whatsoever.
Literally, I've heard podcasts where he'll say it, and most of the time he's just like, yeah, I don't know what it is about the word nigger, but like... And then we'll explain, like, it's just a word that, like, if you say it, like, you're automatically okay with getting your ass beat. Like, not you're okay with it, but that is, like, the universal thing. Like, if a dude says that and gets his ass kicked, like, it's like, okay, well, that's cutting case with it. The point is, and he usually just explains it. Or, like, even if he's explaining a dude going on stage like Kramer, fucking Michael Richards, he went on stage and, like, some dude was heckling him, and then eventually he got to, you're a fucking nigger. And,
Kramer. And then that was so funny when they made him go apologize on fucking like live TV, and it actually looked like a skit.
I didn't even see it. What I've heard about that though. Didn't he say some wild shit? Like not like worse than not wilder than like the original thing, but like, oh, you know, like fucking, I don't even remember. I need to go actually watch it so I can make jokes about it, because I'm sure it's hilarious enough in its actuality.
I need to rewatch it too, because I just remember it literally just came off like a skit.
You hear the
like nice.
The Phoenix Suns owner, he got fined like $10 million and is getting suspended for a year for saying nigger 4 times over the last like 12 years. Or this is the N word. I don't know if it's nigger, but even if it is 4 times, and like,
didn't he get in trouble like already?
That was the guy from the Clippers, and he's like ousted from the league. But like, no, they're like, oh, in 2002 he said nigga, or he said the N word, and then in 2006 he said it, and then 2012 I'm like, dude, he's just waiting for the leap year, dude. Like, honestly, give him a break. Yeah. I'm fine with it. Even if he meant it in a hateful way, I don't think he should lose his job. They should just be like, this guy's a dick. But,
and just not like him.
Yeah. I mean, like, if he's, like, using it it doesn't even matter if he's using it. If he's discriminating against black players.
Yeah.
Which we would know about it.
Yeah.
Because you would be like, oh, I'm going to be the one team here with the white guys. And they would be...
there's so many white people on the Phoenix Suns.
They would be the Charlotte Hornets of 2006. Well, no.
Was that a cracker squad or what?
It was just a bad team. And it was the Charlotte Bobcats back then. It was like, they were terrible. They were the laughingstock of the league, dude. Charlotte was the worst. Now the fucking...
that was the like short season, right? And they had the least wins of any team ever. They went like 9-55 in the shortened season.
I didn't even know that. I just was saying any year.
There might have been 7 wins.
Because like any given year, you go with like the Charlotte team. Like just recently, they started doing all right, actually. Like they didn't make the playoffs, but they were close.
It's because LaMelo's raw.
LaMelo is the GOAT, dude.
Dude, I used to hate on LaMelo so hard. I thought that kid was dog shit. But...
dude, I remember...
he's definitely not dog shit.
I have a lot of respect for his dad. Fucking, what's his name? Daddy Ball.
LeVar.
LeVar, because he was always saying, he's like, LaMelo's the best. He's like, Alonzo's good, LiAngelo's good, LaMelo is better than all of them. He's gonna come out and be the best. Everyone's like, shut up, LeVar. You already like. Sorry. He was like, you already predicted Lonzo going number 2 to the Lakers. Like, Jason Tatum went to the Celtics number 1. He was like, you already made that happen just by talking shit. We're not going to pay attention to you. Like, that's not true. Like, your other son is probably not going to be the second best in his draft class.
Everything he said came true.
Except for, he said LiAngelo. Well, I don't even know what he said about LiAngelo. See, that's the thing, though, is he was smart. And he didn't say much about his son that he was disappointed in and didn't think was going to do much.
Oh.
Good move on his part.
I always thought LiAngelo low-key could have been the best, too, so I was just so off. I was so off.
You remember the game where he dropped 91?
Just off, like, cherry picking now. Yeah. He had the nicest jump shot out of all of them to me, though.
Yeah, because Lonzo shot like a goofy-ass nigga, bro.
And LaMelo, too. That man shot like a fucking kid. He'd be like, wah.
I thought you were saying LaMelo's is the best, and I was like, no. Lonzo's is bad, but fucking...
LiAngelo actually looked like he knew what he was doing.
Whenever LiAngelo got, like, ended, do you remember what that was? He was stealing the sunglasses when they went to visit China, dude, because he was on, I think he was on UCLA, and it was like...
Oh, my God.
Yeah, you remember that?
I feel like did he get, like, stuck in China?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Not
for long, especially for how much they could. If that would have happened now, he would have been Brittany Griner. Except for I would have cared. I would have been like, we need to get him out of there. No, not really. I would have been like, you're a retard, dude.
As long as it's not a woman.
Yeah, that's how I base my my opinions, because that's how MLK wanted it. Like, it's not about, like, who you are, really. But it is about who you are. But it's about, like, who you are as far as your color and your gender to me, and your religion. Those things are how I defend, how I'm going to treat you is all based on that. Because, like, why would I base it off of, I'm going to sit around and waste time getting to know somebody? No, nigga. Like, if I don't like you, I can just tell automatically because of the color of your skin and not the content of your character. Just how MLK wanted, dude. He would be proud right now. He would be saying that I'm his disciple, because I'm also a part of Black Lives Matter, by the way. Fuck you, Whitey.
I'm a black Israelite.
I am also a black Israelite. The real Jews, as everyone knows, this was that, when I said Deshaun Jackson quoted Hitler, he misquoted Hitler. And he was saying that Hitler said, the Americans are going to be really upset when they find out that the blacks are the real Israelites and that they've been lynching them. And it's like, Hitler had who he thought were the real Jews, and he wasn't treating them so great, I'll say. Yeah. Why would he say that makes no sense. And I mean, it's not like he liked black people.
He probably actually said they're going to hate when they find out that black people are the real Israelites and they stop lynching them.
Yeah. Whenever they find out they cut it short. Dude, you know Hitler was 1936 Time Person of the Year?
Really? That's fire. Respect.
Yeah, that shit is wild, dude. Like, Hitler was, like, not... Like, now, obviously, if you're like, oh, he's literally Hitler. Like, we have the basic context to be like, we know everything that came with that. But back then, like,
in Hitler... 1936, he was just the guy that saved German people from starving to death in, like, a 2.5-year period.
Exactly, because after World War I, a lot of people... Okay, so some people, I guess, know a little bit about World War II. But, like, the Germans, like... You can't defend their actions as far as concentration camps, but they kind of didn't have a choice. Like, I mean, after Hitler saved them, I guess they did. But, like, World War I happened, and, like, it was Austria-Hungary. They fucking started a war because Archduke Ferdinand was over in, what country was that? It was, like, Albania or something?
It was...
one of the Eastern European countries.
It was when they were in, like...
Bosnia?
They were in Bosnia, and a Serbian dude shot Franz Ferdinand, who's an Austro-Hungarian
But
dude.
he shot at him and missed. And then he went and he was like sad walking around the city and there's still a parade going on. And then he saw him again. He's like, oh shit. And he threw a bomb. And then he killed him and the wife. Yeah. It was the Black Hand. I remember me and Island Agerton used to always have a joke because we learned about that in Mr. Blunt's history class. Coach Blunt. And that was his real fucking name, Coach Blunt, and that's just sinking in. But fucking, he was talking about that, and Island would be like, black hand, and point at my hand, and I was just like, yeah, black hand. And it was way funnier then. Our level of comedy was we didn't need as much. But fucking, the dude went through the bomb and got him. And Austria started the war, and then they pulled Germany in with them, and then like everyone picked sides. Italy is really the only one that wasn't the same, and they chose to go against Germany, but they waited until like Germany was pretty much done, and then they're like, yeah, let's get in there for the peace conferences. But Germany, after the Treaty of Versailles, got fucked, and it was like basically we were like, this is all your fault.
Fucking raped them.
Yeah, they're like, America was like, hey, you probably shouldn't do that. And then
because like, we actually understood how economics fucking worked.
Yeah, and
France was still retarded.
And France is still retarded.
Yeah, to be clear.
Yeah, let me be clear. Let me be clear. I am not a Muslim. My middle name is Hussien. But fucking France is stupid, and they're like, no, we're going to put this all on them. England as well. We'll give England their props. They're also retarded. And they're in there, and they're like, we're going to...
And we still just let it happen.
Yeah, I mean, because we didn't sign it. We actually didn't because of that, though, right? Yeah, it was literally like...
We were like, y'all wilding for that.
Because we joined in, so we were at the peace conference, and we were like... They're basically, I don't know who brought it up. Let's say the French did. And they're like, I think we should make Germany pay for every single thing that happened because they're really the cause of this. And England was like, I agree. And America was like, that's a horrible idea. If you want to make them come back and fight us in another world war in like 10 years, go ahead.
That's the best way to get them to do it.
That is very efficient to do that. And they're like, I can't hear you. We're too busy signing the fuck out of this thing. And they're like, Germany, you want to come sign this? They're like, no. And they're like, okay, well, you lost, so we actually have power to stamp here. And now you signed it, Germany. Thank you. And they had to basically pay back. And like, you see a lot of pictures from like right before World War II. And like, there'd be kids with wheelbarrows of money. Like, absurd amounts.
The Reichsmarks were literally dog shit.
It didn't mean, they meant nothing because it was like, if you wanted to get a loaf of bread, you're going to need like 4 or 5 of those wheelbarrows of the money. And so it's like, fuck, dude. Like, if you've inflated the money so much because you've made so much of it, because they needed to like try and make they thought they needed to make their economy recover. Ended up harming them a lot. But fucking, they're like, oh, we'll just make a fuck ton more money and then we'll put it out so everyone has money to use. And then they're like, stores are like, well, since there's so much of it now, it means less to me.
They literally invented inflation.
Is that really the first place that it happened?
Inflation's always been like a natural process, but like that's the first time hyperinflation was like a real phenomenon.
That makes sense. Fucking one that you could see with your eyes.
Yeah.
And so they were fucked up. Like they had no money. I mean, like they had a lot of money, but it was worth nothing. And then Hitler came in, saved them, and everyone was like, whoa, that guy's pretty fucking cool. Because, like, he didn't, like, take over militarily. Like, whenever he tried to do that, he got arrested. And, like, he was
really?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
He was that's where he wrote Mein Kampf, actually. He was in prison. And, like, it was a very soft prison. But, like, they had him in there for a little bit, and they just let him out. And then he actually became chancellor. And then somehow I believe he...
Dope-ass title.
I think he was, like, the person that was in charge of the military. And he's like, oh, well, then I'm in charge of everything now. And they're like, no. And he's like... Well, I wasn't asking. I was saying. They're like, okay, well, I don't really want to fight the military, so I guess this guy's in charge. You should look it up for yourself. That's probably not 100% accurate. That's how I interpret it. And fucking Hitler's in power, and then he fixes their fucking issues. Like, I don't know exactly what year it is, but he fixes their financial struggles in like 2 years, and everyone's like, oh, this guy's pretty fucking cool.
He built up a secret army literally without any of the rest of the world knowing.
And they were completely trained. That's why in Hearts of Iron you have like you have multiple divisions of fully trained, fully supplied units that it like cannot be trained anymore because it's like this nigga was ready to go to war.
Yeah.
And like, but fucking.
I mean, he was building factories halfway across the world just to build fucking guns.
Really?
Yeah.
Like where? Like in South
China.
America? Oh, that makes sense. Not really though, because they were actually fascists at the time. I forgot about that.
Well, that was when they were. Like
the Qing dynasty,
like they first, it was like well before World War II, like the early 30s when they were pulling up to China, literally building Mauser factories and showing them how to make shit.
Oh, and that was probably when they were fighting off the the Russians are the fucking Japanese in Manchuria, and they're like, well, we need guns, so like, fucking
the Japanese for sure.
Fucking, I don't remember exactly what time it was. There was the Sino-Russian War too, or I forgot what it was. The Japanese beat the Russians in a war at one point, and it was like everyone's like, "Wow, this dopey little island's not going to do anything," and then they did.
Yeah,
fucking. There was Nazi. I forgot what Madison Square Garden had like a Nazi not festival, like a conference for that because they're like, well. It worked really well over in Germany, and we weren't out of the Great Depression yet. So we were like, maybe we could use like the Nazi shit to make ourselves fucking get out of it, but not enough people were in it. But there were like, it was Madison Square Garden was packed out, dude.
That's wild.
Yeah. People don't know that, dude. And like in England, there was a little stint of fascism. Like everyone wanted to try it because it looked like it was working very well, like for Hitler. And, like Oswald Mosley, he was over trying to organize the black shirts in England. And they would try and go do these like...
Oswald.
Yeah. They would try and do these like marches and shit. And they were like trying to just like raise the popularity of fascism. But it ended up not being enough because they were just like, Germany is just so bad. We need to get rid of this guy. And I don't even know what they did to him, but he was no longer in power.
Who, the Oswald guy?
Yeah. Fucking...
Just probably never got voted for because they were a democracy.
Yeah. Dude, fucking...
Democracy.
Japan is one of the more interesting World War II countries as well. Because, like, you were explaining... Well, not the other day, but we were talking about it the other day, how, like, one of their biggest problems is, like, them and Germany didn't have anywhere, like, any safe airspace to train their pilots. And, like... Because, like, in Germany, like... They're literally doing their meetings in like bomb shelters and shit because England was bombing them everywhere. Yeah. And like if you don't have a giant, they did have a big like Air Force. They had actually a lot of planes, but they didn't have enough pilots because they literally couldn't train anyone. Like
Japan had plenty of like airspace to train them in. They were just so old fashioned and like kind of ignorant in how they trained.
What do you mean?
Because I mean, they like did it almost like samurai like to where
you had to be the top of the best of the best.
Yeah, and they would like literally just eliminate people just for the message basically. Because I was reading the Saburo Sakai autobiography that fucking Zach bought me for my like last birthday. Mm-hmm. And that's Saburo Sakai he's like the most accomplished Japanese pilot that survived World War II. I think he downed like 200 and something airplanes, which is nuts.
That's insane.
But
200 KD. Yeah. Wait, did he die? Oh, well, he wrote a book.
Yeah, he
200 and 0.
I think he's dead now, but I think he lived till like really recently. Mm-hmm. But he got trained as a pilot in I want to say like 1934 or something. So like in that interwar period leading up to World War II. And I think they only had 2 flight schools at the time. And he said that the one that he got accepted into had like close to 2,000 qualified applicants or some shit to like become pilots.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, only 73 people got through for that year's class.
God damn.
So they're training 73 fucking pilots. I guess times 2 for the 2 schools if they're the same. They're getting 150 new pilots a year leading up to World War II.
What?
And we were training like thousands.
Yeah, because we're just going to throw them up. And that's why they're swatting them down like flies. They're like, what? Like fucking doing the kung fu shit when a fly comes by them.
They were for like the first 5 minutes of the war, but our guys weren't that bad. Like, they weren't. All of our guys had like pretty good training. We just sent way more of them through.
We just didn't make them like be the top of the top. And even if we would have done that, because we have so many people, that would have probably been more efficient than them. Because like they had some people, but they were like a class of 2,000 in Japan is like a class of 10,000 in America.
Yeah.
I would think it would be more than that maybe.
But I mean, it seems like that all of those 2,000 applicants that were qualified were the top of the top, but they only let 73 of the 2,000 top of the top through. So that's why it's like, come on.
Come on, bro.
Yeah.
Dude, a lot of people don't know. Like, when people know about World War II, like the big events like Pearl Harbor and shit, and like whenever they know about the main event is usually the 2 nukes we dropped on them. And there's a lot of people that think that they didn't deserve it. But I would like to explain here.
We saved a lot of lives doing that.
Yeah. And like that sounds fucked up. But the Japanese, I don't know how else to say it. They were really bad boys during the entirety of their reign. They were actually, I think, like the second largest empire ever behind like England, because I mean they got all of fucking Manchuria. They had Manchukuo.
They were up there.
They were up there. They had a lot of China,
like 1942 Japan.
Yeah, like the peak Japan, and they planned to take China really quickly because China's basically a lot of ports. Like they have it's a big ass country, but back in 1930s, 1936, they didn't have like a lot of. They weren't super well supplied. They had a lot of people, but like. They had to build their shit up. Yeah. And like they
didn't have the technology either.
They were behind. And like Japan was like big ass like
they had no centralized leadership either.
Because they were broken up into like a bunch of different parts like Zebei Sanma, fucking Yunnan, fucking communist China was its own part. And that was after Mao like had to run away because he got slapped in the fucking butt and they're like, get out of here, Mao.
Yeah, it went all the way from the southeast coast all the way up and around up into the north.
I'm going to insert
over like
a picture.
A year and a half period.
I'm going to insert a picture of China like right now, but fucking it's insane how big, like how many people he got to move across. Like
later I can send you a picture of the like movement map that they did over the 2 years because I used that for one of my essays. Send
that to me. I'm going to use that one instead. But like China's broken up into a bunch of different parts. Fucking Manchuria was a part of China before the Qing dynasty, but actually, that's where Russia fought China, and so did Japan. And like the agreement was like, Japan was like, I'm gonna take. That's how the Sino-Russo War started. But Japan was brain fart. Japan was like, oh yeah, we get Korea, you guys get Manchuria. Like, sound good? And Russia was like, yeah, that's fine. And like they did the war. The fucking Russians did that. The Japanese took over Korea, and then the Japanese were like, all right, thanks for Manchuria. And they're like, what? And they're like, well, that's ours now, and it's Manchukuo, so you can get the fuck out. And then the Russians are like, no. And they started bringing people over to fight the war, and they're like, oh, yeah, it's going to be easy. Just by pure will. They didn't even have any, like, tank divisions or anything, and the Soviets were bringing over tanks, which, by the way, it wasn't Russia then, it was Soviet Union. They were bringing over tanks and shit, and still, they would just go and, like, overpower it with just sheer will. And, like, being a bunch of crazy people wearing the fucking, looking like Power Rangers bad guys wearing fucking suits of mecha armor.
God damn. Fucking, what's his name? Who's the Zhukov, that Russian general?
Georgy Zhukov.
Yeah, he did clap the shit out of the Japanese at Kalk and Gall, though.
It was not like Japan just swiping the floor with them. It was a long war. But everyone thought that the Soviet Union was going to wipe the floor with them. Yeah. And, like, it was not even going to be a competition. And, like...
That's, like, Japan's bid for legitimacy on the world stage.
Because they were like, we are running out of resources on this island, like, quick. And we need to get a lot more, a lot quicker.
They have, like, nothing there to actually build up, like, industry and a military. They had no oil.
You know, that's actually why they bombed this in Pearl Harbor. Is because, like... Whenever hold up, I gotta keep on going in Japan. So they had a plan, like, because they were like, the Chinese are so far behind us that we're gonna take all their ports and we're gonna own Japan or China in like 3 months. I think their time frame was. And
what a fucking miscalculation!
Insane miscalculation and just absurd arrogance to think that was even possible. And
that was their army, though.
Yeah, it was.
In that show.
That's how strong that they were. That's how high their faith was in theirs, and they knew that the Chinese armies weren't that strong. And so they're like, okay, well, we're gonna go and take over all of it, and like very quickly. And I don't know if they expected it, but the Chinese formed the Chinese United Front. And, like, all of the, like, separate areas came together except for, like... No, I think they all actually came together to fight them.
Yeah, a lot of the warlords helped. I mean, the ones in the West didn't get involved at all, really, because they never saw the war.
Yeah.
But fucking... That was the one time communism and fascism came together on the same team.
To fight fascism, because it's so powerful. But they'd gotten, like, the 3-month mark, and they had just gotten to their capital. And they were... it was called Nanking. They were fucking furious that the Chinese had made them like take as long as they did. And so they're like, we are going to make them learn a lesson. And like historically it's known as the rape of Nanjing.
Yeah.
And it's literally like they went around the streets like fucking just any woman they see, they're gonna fucking rape them, and like their fucking pussy's gonna be all pixelated because that's how Japanese people see it. And he's gonna pull out his fucking disgusting pubed up cock, and you're going, oh, this is very nice.
my cockaroo.
And then he fucking.
I'm going to go bayonet a baby now that I am done giving you the fuck.
Yeah, they would literally take babies and just throw them up on bayonets or like stab through them with that sword thing that goes on the end of a fucking gun. And it's just
That's
like
a bayonet.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But I'm just like explaining it for the people that aren't psychopaths like us that know. But fucking. They were really bad boys, and they were behaving pretty erratically, I'd say. And America, whenever it got to that point, was like, "All right, dude, you have to stop raping by the end of next year because we're not giving you any more oil if you're still doing that." And they're like, "No, I think we're gonna keep on going." And so they just kept on doing it, and then we actually were like, "All right, well then they're done." And
yeah, because we had our wiener in the Philippines.
Yeah, and they're like,
that was when it was like,
they're sitting there staring, and they're already mad that we're not sending them oil anymore, and they're just like, all right, and it's not
like Arthur with his fist balled up, staring
like
at
that.
the Philippines,
exactly like that, and fucking. They are furious at America, and America's no pushover here. We might be in the Great Depression, but we have a giant country. We have
a giant fucking navy.
A giant navy. We have a lot more people than them. We have more space to create agriculture. There was, like, whenever you hear about the internment camps, there's a lot of Japanese people that were over here in America. We have our American flag up.
Yes,
there's a lot of Japanese people all over the place, and they're like, they would come back and they would be like, dude, no. Like, I've seen oil fields we have literally an area in this general area as big as like France that is just like growing shit. Because like
nice.
There are oil fields that are like bigger than our country and width-wise, just in like small areas of America. They are a giant. They are literally referring to us as the sleeping giant because we're in neutrality. We don't want to join the war at first, and then they're like, "Well, let the giant sleep. That's fine." And
then we're just gonna like drop some bombs on him.
Yeah, and well, so they're like, America's not giving us oil. This is like 1941, like December 6th conversations. I bet it went on for a little bit longer, but they're like, America stopped giving us. I think it might have been 1940 as well. I don't really know the years that much. But like, America's not giving us oil. They have the Philippines, and now I'm really fucking mad because I don't have oil for my tanks. Oil for my tanks!
Oil for tanker.
Yeah, fucking me doing a Mexican Carlos Mencia. But fucking, even though his real name is Ned. But they basically balled their fist up, took the balled up fist, and drunkenly punched the biggest guy in the bar. And it's not just the biggest guy. It's like if you went to the bar with like a UFC nigga that you are friends with, and he's like sitting there, and you're safe because he's defending you for that year with the oil. He's like, here you go, I'm gonna help you out, so you don't have to feel scared that something's gonna happen. Then he's like, all right, well, I'm gonna go do this. I'm gonna go like try and find a bitch, and you're like, and so you ball your fist up and you punch him in the face as hard as you can, and you're like, well, that's not good. And like, let's say it was right. He was about to fight somebody else. Like, I don't know. England was maybe the next one with they also had a target like on Japan. But then they see Japan hit that UFC fighter and they're like, this fight just became a lot better for us. I think Churchill literally said like, after Pearl Harbor, I knew we won. And it's like, I knew it was over.
Because we were just riled up.
Yeah, it was like, oh, dude, I just need America. It's like...
Even after, I never knew, because remember when we were talking about it the other day, Jimbo brought up that even after Pearl Harbor, we, like, prioritized the European front.
Yeah, I didn't know
the
that.
Pacific. I didn't know that either.
Because, I mean, like, we probably knew that we had enough people to do both, but it's like...
It's still funny we gave them the work in the Pacific when focusing on Europe.
And, yeah, and we're all the way across the... Like... People don't talk about how stupid of a move it is, other than like Dan Carlin talking about it on his fucking Hardcore History. That was a horrible move to do Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, the Navy literally wanted to kill themselves from day one.
And like, there was a lot of talk of being dishonorable, and that was an actual issue with like some of their admirals, where I was like, dude, we're gonna sneak attack them. That's not honorable. And like that wasn't a huge issue, but like some of them, like, come on, dude. And like, as a Hearts of Iron gameplay enjoyer, I know that if you're Japan, you need to take out all the islands that America has right there, because they have like the Marshall Islands, they have like 4 or 5 islands that are right there. I'm gonna put the picture on the screen of the Hearts of Iron gameplay. But fucking, they have quite a few that they could do naval invasions from, but they went for Hawaii first, which wasn't feasible for them to be able to actually. It was like they were trying to blow up the fleet, which they blew up some ships, not like our best ships or anything, but they blew up some.
They blew up a bunch of old shit.
Yeah, they blew up our old shit, which is why a lot of people actually think that we let it happen and that we were like, oh, Japan's going to come hit us and bring us into the war? Okay, well, you can just let's take our super destroyers and shit and let's move them over here. Let's just watch. And they let them do it, and then like, all right, now we're in. I don't know if that's true or not, dude.
No, because we rebuilt pretty much all of them, other than the Arizona and the Nevada.
Really?
Yeah. Because actually, at the very end of the war, I think it might have been the biggest like battleship on battleship battle of all time, to be honest, in 1945. I can't remember what it was called, but it was literally all of those fucking ships that got fucked up in Pearl Harbor that got rebuilt, like the Tennessee's the only one I can remember. Yeah, they were out in the Philippines, and they got into a fucking big ass like just gun battle with like
another battleship. That would be sick. It was
a couple Japanese battleships and like a bunch of heavy cruisers and shit, and it was like just 7 or 8 of our battleships from Pearl Harbor. Dude, and they fucked their shit. They absolutely destroyed them.
Like that, we beat the Japanese. Yeah. They're probably fucking... Dude, I would have taken a victory lap around them. I would have started emoting on them. Yeah. I would have taken so many victory laps around that little island. Like, see, I'm very brutal whenever it comes to war. Like, I don't see any point in trying to be fucking diplomatic about it. You don't need to bring the civilians into it, but it does make it go a lot faster if you do. Because... think about it. If you kill their army and then, like, their army runs away to another city and they're like, oh, now we're going to fight them again... Then they're like, oh, well, they're just going to leave our civilians alone and we can just keep on jumping back and forth. They'll be around for a while. No, we're going to make this quick. Now that we've killed you, we're going to, in Civilization 6 terms, because I don't want to get us demonetized, even though nigger's definitely going to do it before this, we would raise the city. And there would be no more city. And then we would move to the next one. And then the next one. And it would just be all until the people are done. And see, that's how you end up like Hitler. And Holland would be the thing. They'd be like, oh no, like the Netherlands is like, we don't go by that anymore. Javon, the dude that plays free safety for the Dolphins, he'd be like, yeah, maybe I could change my name. Fucking a lot of Peyton Holland would be like, that's sick, dude. And fucking, but like, I don't know. I feel like America's pretty nice. I would be more like a Japanese person, which.
Just bayoneting babies and raping the women.
And going back to them, like, whenever Hirohito fucking was like, all right, well, we surrender. The Americans, they pretty much got us. They had, at that point, thought that Hirohito was a god. And, like, they're like, this literally can't be possible. Because he's like, it's like, this is our god telling us we're going to go and win this war. But now, it sounds a lot like it's a human.
I mean, Hirohito didn't even want to go to the war. I mean, obviously, when they were going to the war, he supported it, but it was because Tojo pretty much had all the real power.
Really?
Yeah, because he ran the military.
But fucking Hirohito, they literally thought that dude was like their emperor god, dragon.
Chosen by divine right.
And fucking, whenever he like surrendered, there's a lot of Japanese people that were like going and like throwing themselves off cliffs because they're like, I don't know. Like, there are literally a bunch of people killing themselves because they're like, I don't even know what's going on here.
That's sick.
And like, he was the warhead. That's how and why in Hearts of Iron you never have an issue with war support. Like, you notice like in any other country, Germany you don't usually, but like England you definitely face it. America you do. But like your war support's always around 90 to 100 because most of the people were very for the war.
Because that's why I said earlier that we saved a bunch of lives by nuking them, because they were literally going to fight like to the last person. And we had to basically show them that we could nuke them, and there was no fight that they could put up for them to be like, okay, maybe this is fucking insane. Because they were arming, like, you should see what the, like, last-ditch Arisaka rifles look like. They're, like, literally, like, some shit someone crafted in Rust, bro. And they were giving them to, like, grandmas and shit on fucking Okinawa to shoot back at the Americans.
Dude, they were telling them, like, fucking, if the Americans get here, like, they are going to rape you. Basically, the rape of Nanjing, all the bad things they did, they're like,
they're going to do it to us.
But they didn't say that we did it. They didn't admit to the rape of Nanjing because they didn't do it.
Yeah, never happened.
What's my boy's name that's up in heaven now? Fucking
Shinzo Abe.
Shinzo Abe. He was a real true patriot in my book because he never accepted the lies that we tried to put on Japan, saying that they did that even though they definitely did.
Yeah.
And but they were talking about, like, America's going to do all this horrible shit to us, so we probably should not let them get here. So if we would have sent people to go fight them, it would have been way worse than fucking D-Day. Way worse than D-Day, because we would have been fucking landing people on the Japanese shores, and it wouldn't have just been, like, fortified forts that you have army or, like, soldiers fighting from. Every single room you go into, you're going to have people that are fighting you with everything they have.
Yeah.
And it's like, damn, dude, we would have lost a lot of American lives as opposed to just dropping the nuke and being like, these people want to die anyways. Like, they want to die for the cause anyway. So getting killed by a nuke, if you're in the epicenter, would be very nice.
And we would have had to kill, like, every single person in the country to get them to surrender.
Yeah.
Which would have been a lot more than, how many did we kill with the nukes? Like 50,000 or something
like that. And there would have been, like, fucking, we would have lost so many Americans. They would have been like, see, we did such a great power of fighting the Americans. We killed this many. Let's keep on going. And they would have done that the entire way up because we would not have been able to get through with 0 casualties. Like, we would have lost a lot of fucking people.
I mean, wasn't the Battle of Okinawa, like, one of the worst battles of the entire war?
Because I believe Okinawa was the last island. We did a thing called island hopping where we were basically going from, like, those islands I described earlier. They were, like, jumping from one of those to another small Japanese island that they were using. And they would just go from island to island, knocking them down. And Okinawa was, like, the one where they're like, if they get here, there's airspaces built, and they're going to be able to drop bombs on us and fuck us up. There was also a giant radio station there that was, like, one of their main communication points. They fucking did not want to lose that. So they had, like, 2 miles.
Okinawa was, like, right next to mainland Japan. I mean, it's one of the Japanese islands.
Mm-hmm. And fucking, like it's one of theirs now, but, like, in World War II, like, they had a lot more. But, fucking, what's it called? They did not want to lose that. So they had, like, a 2-mile deep, like, tunnel system that was, like, all through the island of just, like, with artillery pointed out of it. And, like, if you wanted to get on that island, you were going to have to fight them tooth and nail. And that's what it ended up being. It's like a giant bloodshed. That's where you see that, I believe that's where you see the picture of the Americans where they're hoisting.
That's Iwo Jima.
Iwo Jima, yeah. Actually, Iwo Jima is the one I'm thinking of.
Okay. Yeah, that one was fucking awful.
That was the one with the tunnel system with, And also, whenever pilots would go in to, like, bomb them and shit, if they would get shot down, their main goal was to try and get as far away from the island as possible because the Japanese would send out a small fucking boat out to get you that's still a gunship and still would definitely kill you. But, like,
their main goal was to blow up.
And act like I don't know nobody. But fucking they would go out and they would pick them up and they would treat them horribly. They were prisoners of war. And
not a good time.
Japanese people didn't think that Japanese prisoners of war were honorable.
Yeah, they didn't give them any kind of treatment whatsoever.
They actually hated them. Like, not hated, but they really disrespected them. Because
like the Bataan Death March.
Yeah, they were like...
Jimbo was talking about that the other day.
Basically, their idea of a war is like, you go and you fight till you're dead. And there's no excuse for not doing that. And the Japanese were like... That was their goal in, like, every fight. So then whenever we, like, Americans would surrender and, like, be like, oh, yeah, like, here, we're giving ourselves up. Don't kill us. The Japanese were like, you're disgusting. Because, like, they're like, I would have had a lot more respect for you if you would have died an honorable death of fighting while in combat with me. Yeah. And they're like, these people were literally insane. And they're like, we're gonna make you march. And, like, they were running out of food and supplies. And so this is more a lack of their supplies, and it ended up being bad, and there was also bad. But, like, they were not feeding anybody. and they weren't giving them water, and they're just like, walk. And like if they stop, all right, bayonet, dead. Keep walking. And it was just like thousands of them. I think like 2,000 people got killed by like that march, and then it's brutal.
Most of them.
Yeah, dude. Ugh. There was I forgot who it was. There was actually a Japanese general that did cannibalism on one of the islands on the prisoners of war.
Nice.
And he made them like, he would just take pieces off of the dude and like send them back. And then like if he survived, he survived. If he didn't, then they ate the rest of them. And then there was like other prisoners of war that were like, well, I guess I'm next.
What a fucking monster.
Yeah, that's a lot of World War II talk, dude. Fucking, let me look at my list of topics and see if we can jump off this for, what is it, 5:29?
Let's see if I got anything on deck.
We can hit like 10 more mins. Oh, I got one. Dude, there's this dude, most base Russian nigga ever. His name was Vasily Arkhipov. And basically during the Cold War, there was like a nuclear sub that was kind of near Miami. And it was a Russian one. And I guess they had gotten word somehow that nuclear war started. And whenever you have to do nuclear war, you got to like hit 3 buttons at the same time, like on the sub, I guess. And 2 of the niggas were like, yeah, let's do it. And this nigga was like, no, I don't think so. I need more confirmation. And ended up saving a fucking lot of lives just by being a dick.
Yeah.
But could you imagine if you're like, if your job is to be on a submarine, that's probably really fucking boring and sucks. Like, I imagine. Like,
yeah, that's like the last place I would want to fucking be.
With submarines, whenever they start sinking and like getting water and shit, you have to lock off like different sections of a submarine and like know that like when I'm locking this off, nothing's coming through. So like if there's water leaking and my best friend's in that other tube, he's dead because I can't risk it getting in. You have to have such a sad, horrible life on a submarine. And then like the one time you get to be happy is when you're like, oh.
Get to nuke somebody.
Yeah, and then there's this one dick that's like, everyone's like, it's time, we get to do this, motherfucker. And then this is Vasily dude, or I'm sure it's not pronounced like that, Vasily. And the nigga's just like, no, I'm not gonna do it. I won't.
Based.
Yeah, that was probably fucking...
That's why it's crazy that people think that like fucking like the president has like a big red easy button from Staples that he can hit that launches nukes, when like even the insane Soviets fucking 80 years ago needed 3 guys.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Yeah. Like it ended up saving probably the world. But like people give the president way too much credit for what he can actually do. Like the president is
low-key a bitch.
He's like mid-level government. Like if there's like 4,000, like level 4,000 clearance, that nigga's at like level 2,000 because there's a nigga that has to brief him on all that shit. And he's definitely above the government.
And he's just some fucking dude in a suit and tie that nobody knows who he is.
Yeah, and he didn't get voted in. He's like, yeah, all right, Mr. President, we'll show you this, but we'll stop it at this point. Bill Hicks actually has a joke about that. He's like, I think that whenever the president gets elected, the CIA takes him to a back room and shows him an angle of the JFK assassination that we've never seen before and says, any questions? And it's like, yeah, that makes sense. Dude, that would be fucking wild being the president.
Yeah.
I don't think that if there's aliens in the president, I don't think that there's like I don't think we have like any knowledge of aliens like as humans, because like a lot of people think the government does, but I think that if we did and Trump was president, I have a strong feeling. I don't
think the president would ever know though.
Yeah. Who do you think would know? Niggas working at Area 51 like Bob Lazar.
Maybe, yeah. If anyone knew, it would be guys like him.
Yeah, and I mean, he had a story, but he said it wasn't him saying it was an alien. He said, like, I was walking by a window, and, like, literally when he was, like, describing it, and he's like, we gotta go walk straight, look forward, don't look in the windows. And he just peeked in, and he said, I saw a small body, but I don't know what that was. That could have been a kid. That could have been... his idea is he thought that they were fucking with him.
Yeah,
that they were just trying to...
he say that they, like, would have them do and, like, look at shit that was not even, like, real.
True. Because then they'd be like, if something leaks and they're talking about this, we actually made everybody get different fake shit. So we know exactly who it was. Mm-hmm. And, like, dude, Bob Lazar is crazy. We got to save a little bit of that because Patrick was talking about that. And he said he wants to come on and talk about that because he wants the podcast. Yeah. Dude, that shit is very convincing.
Yeah.
But But this has been a pretty good episode. We're gonna cut it a little bit short, but I appreciate you coming over, my nigga.
Yes.